recapping what happened in Week 12 of the NFL season, and then we will be doing a Thursday Night Football preview for Week 13. So let's jump right into this. We got a lot to cover in this one, a lot of games, a lot of playoff implications for a lot of these matchups this past week, so let me get right into it. Packers versus Detroit, first game of the Thanksgiving Day slate. Obviously a big day for football, big day for family, football, everybody involved in this one. This is always a fun day to sit around, eat some food, eat a lot of really good food, and then watch some football with the family. So obviously we started off with the Packers versus Detroit. Obviously coming into this game, a lot of people were saying Detroit was probably going to go ahead and finish it off. They're going to have their first big win on Thanksgiving in a long time, and the Packers came to play spoiler. Man, they stepped up to the plate and just played really well in this one. Jordan Love looks like he has turned the corner, and he is playing much better football than he has in the past. And that is huge for the confidence of the Packers organization as a whole in general going forward. They're getting their playmakers all involved there. Jaden Reed has stepped up in a big way. He's a big-time rookie draft pick, I think second-round pick this year for them, as well as they got Tucker Kraft involved in this game, which was another pick in this draft, a rookie tight end selection alongside of Luke Musgrave, who had to miss this game because of injury. They got Christian Watson going in this game a little bit as well. He had a pretty big game. They're getting everybody involved. Romeo Doubs once again too. So the offense for the Packers is rounding into form here in a opportune time for them, as some of the people in the NFC North are starting to fall off a little bit. We'll get to some of these games later, but they have a slight chance to somehow make it into the playoff picture if they continue to win some of these games. And Jordan Love's performance in this one bodes well for that happening potentially. He's just getting better and better every single week. They're taking the kid gloves off the offense a little bit for him. But in this one, obviously, the bigger story is Detroit dropping this game at home on Thanksgiving with all the momentum that they had going into the game, the potential of the number one seed in the NFC. They were, right on the tail of the Eagles. And I thought really they had a chance to pretty much win out in this in the rest of their schedule, considering how much of an easier schedule it seemed to be until obviously they got beat obviously here on Thanksgiving Day, the first game of the day. And obviously for an Eagles fan like me, man, this was a big deal. Just to get a little bit of breathing room there was really nice to have, obviously. But the rest of the day did not go in the favor of the Eagles, and that's when we were going to hop into the Cowboys versus the Commanders game. Cowboys, get the job done on Thanksgiving. Once again, they have done it against the Commanders in this one, who, man, it seemed like the Commanders in this game had a few chances to really stay in this football game, and they just made some situational football decisions that I just did not agree with at all. And that's just a indictment on, Ron Rivera, the head coach. His name's Riverboat Ron, yet he is just one of the more cowardice coaches in all of football at this point. I feel like he got that nickname in like 2010 whenever he's going forward on like 4th and 1 with a 6'6", 260-pound quarterback in Cam Newton, who wouldn't go for, a short yardage situation with a guy like that when you can just run QB power, QB draw, whatever, a QB sneak with a guy like that. So I just think his nickname has just stuck around a little bit longer than he really could afford it to, because at this point he is not a guy that is willing to roll the dice to win a football game that you're just not favored in. If you're not favored in a football game like the Commanders were against the Cowboys here, you have to take some necessary risks to potentially win the game, cover the spread, literally anything to stay competitive in this football game, and they just almost refused to do it. Sam Howell, tried his best to keep them in this game. He threw for a ton of yardage and whatnot, but the Cowboys, man, Deron Bland once again gets another pick six, breaks the all-time record for pick sixes in a season, which is at 5 now. So he holds that record. He is now, in position to potentially win Defensive Player of the Year because of that. Myles Garrett gets hurt this week in this one, so that hurts his chances as well, and he was right there at the top as well. So Deron Bland has a great chance at winning Defensive Player of the Year off the back of just having a great season, which, has just been happening all season for him. He's just put together a ridiculous resume so far, considering being, I think, a 6th-round pick a couple years ago in the draft. So good for him. Cowboys keep winning. They get the job done, keep the pressure on the Eagles to continue to win, and we'll get to that a little bit later. Next game, 49ers versus Seahawks, another team that has to keep winning to keep the pressure on the Eagles to try to potentially steal the 1 seed. And that's going to become a big deal later on this next week. But let's get to what happened on Thanksgiving with the Seahawks. Basically, the 49ers just outplayed the Seahawks. The Seahawks have been on a decline offensively for a while now. Couldn't really get anything going here. I didn't really expect them to. The 49ers defense is very, very solid. And this one, I was expecting, the passing game for the Seahawks to get going a little bit, considering the 49ers, secondary has not been as good this season as advertised. And I was thinking maybe they had a chance to, I don't know, just make some plays happen in this game with their wide receiving core, who is good. I mean, it's got DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. I mean, you have guys to make plays, and it just never really came about. Geno Smith has struggled a little bit this season. He's obviously dealing with a little bit of an arm injury right now, as well as the O-line has not been as good as it has been, if everybody was healthy right now. But man, Seahawks are kind of fumbling the bag right now. They are in, potential of dropping themselves out of the playoff picture if they can't keep getting wins. And there's a huge Thursday night football game this week against the Cowboys. Both teams need the win badly, so it's going to be a dogfight. It's going to be really fun. I'll get to that preview a little bit later. But yeah, 49ers get a huge win here. I feel like the game was never really in doubt for the 49ers. They just came in and kind of rolled, even though it was in Seattle. 49ers look good going into this next week against an Eagles team. I am really excited for that matchup. Obviously, it's been a long time coming from the NFC Championship game, and so that's exciting going forward. But let's go in and get into the Black Friday game. Dolphins versus Jets, man. This game was ugly. Tim Boyle takes over for Zach Wilson. Everybody agreed that was probably the right decision at the time. And then Tim Boyle goes out and has one of the worst games I've ever seen from a quarterback ever, basically. And it's just, man, nothing is going right for the Jets right now. Just crazy plays happening in this game. A 100-yard pick six at the end of the half there for the Dolphins. Tyreek Hill continues to just score touchdowns and be effective in the passing game for the Dolphins. But really, the Dolphins outside of that didn't really get anything going. But I mean, it's the Jets defense who is very talented and very good. But at the end of the day, their morale was probably just so punished by all the craziness that was happening in that game that by the end of the game, they just kind of gave up. Raheem Mostert had a lot of garbage time yardage and touchdowns. So if you had him in fantasy, you were really pissed off in the first half. In the second half, you were like, thank the Lord that he came through in the end for your team. But yeah, Dolphins get the job done once again. They are atop the AFC East. And so, yeah, they're just one step ahead of a Buffalo Bills team who, we'll get to that a little bit later, dropped a game this week as well. Falcons versus Saints. There's not a whole lot to say here. I mean, an ugly NFC South matchup. A lot of craziness going on in this game as well. Derek Carr throws a really bad red zone interception to Jesse Bates there, and it goes back for a pick six, which was just a huge momentum shift in the game for the Saints, who looked like they were going to potentially score in this one. Could not score at all in this game, hardly. Blake Grupe was keeping them in the game the entire time, kicking field goals, which was just a disaster for them offensively. But yeah, Falcons get a huge win. They actually start to use Bijan Robinson quite a bit in the passing game and in the red zone area, the goal line area, which they have been refusing to do pretty much all season. Arthur Smith, I don't know, for whatever reason, he was just like, yeah, I'm not going to use the guy that we drafted 8 overall in the draft. He's just not that good. It's crazy. As soon as you start making his utilization higher, your team starts winning. Your team starts scoring more points, and you win some football games, and you take the lead in the NFC South. Just a weird, coincidence there. I don't think Arthur Smith needs to think too hard about this any longer. Let's go into the next game: Steelers versus Bengals. This one, the Steelers escape from the Bengals with a backup quarterback in Jake Browning. So the Steelers offense it looked better in this game than it has all season. They, have more yardage in this game than they have all season under Matt Canada after the firing this past week, I should say. And so the Steelers offense looked better. They just didn't score as many points as you would expect them to with the amount of yards that they actually were able to put out there on the field. Najee Harris looked good in this game. If you had him in fantasy, you were pretty excited about that, considering how much more work Jaylen Warren has been getting in for the Steelers offense as of late. But yeah, Steelers get a huge win there. They are firmly in the AFC playoff picture with a wild card there, because the Ravens are obviously the number 1 seed in the AFC there. So they just keep winning, man. They keep scrapping and clawing these wins together, and it's pretty impressive stuff. Jaguars versus Titans. Jaguars versus Texans. And this one, I'm not gonna lie. I've been rooting for the Texans to win all season long, and this game it seemed like it was going to be a really really good matchup, AFC South, divisional matchup here, division rivals, and the Jaguars got it done in the end, man. And like I said last week, man, it's been crazy to see what happened to the Jaguars offense once Zay Jones got back in that lineup, man. He just turned that offense completely around. But what I will say is the Texans, man, they are right there. They're nipping at everybody's heels in the AFC South. The Jaguars pretty much locked up the division in this game. I would more or less expect they're 8-3. They're atop the division. And then obviously you have the Texans just trying to find a way into one of the wild card spots. And I think they can do it with the way CJ Stroud's playing right now, the way he's connecting with Tank Dell and Nico Collins. The defense for the Texans is playing pretty well right now. Will Anderson keeps making plays. Derek Stingley keeps making plays. They are going to be a pain in the rear for somebody in the AFC playoff picture if they can slide in there, and I am looking forward to that, just them playing spoiler to somebody. I think it's going to be really fun going down to the end of the season. Let's go on to the next one, Colts versus Buccaneers. Colts get a big win here, and they are the number 7 seed in the playoffs right now for the AFC, which is, obviously they're fighting with the Texans right now. The Texans are on the outside looking in because of some, familiar opponent losses and things of that nature. So Texans are fighting with the Colts. The Colts keep winning. Shane Steichen showing how important he is, how important coaching is in the NFL. It's just impressive what he's been able to do with Gardner Minshew in there. Even their defense hasn't really played very well this season at all, and they have just continued to win. The Buccaneers, man, I don't know what's going on with them, man. They seem to have spurts of good play here and there, but they just can't get the job done. They get Carolina next week, so they'll probably get back in the win column for that one. But otherwise, the Colts take care of business, and they are in the 7 seed in the AFC playoff picture, which is really impressive, like I said, from Shane Steichen, from a standpoint of the amount of injuries that they have, suffered. And apparently, I saw a thing where Jonathan Taylor has a little bit of a thumb injury, so I don't know if he's going to be able to play this next week, but a lot of stuff going wrong for the Colts, but they still seem to keep winning and put wins in the win column. Let's go on to the next one, Browns versus Broncos. Man, the Broncos have a shot at the playoffs here, and Russell Wilson is starting to play good football right now. Cortland Sutton just keeps scoring touchdowns. The offense is operating at a pretty high level. Javonte Williams is getting the job done. Samaje Perine is rearing his head in some of these situations. They're just scoring touchdowns. It's crazy. They're scoring points right now. And based on the way things were looking at the beginning of the season here, I would have never expected them to be in this position where, it's like, don't look now, they're over 500. They beat a Browns team that has been scrapping and clawing wins together all season with very little offensive production, but their defense has been so good. Myles Garrett, unfortunately, gets hurt in this game, and I think if what I read correctly was like he kind of avoided a major injury to his shoulder. I think that's what he left for. But that's crazy, man. The Browns, they are also still in the playoff picture. So a lot of, the Broncos are on the outside looking in still, but this win goes a long way to get a AFC, win, a conference win under their belt here. So Broncos, once again, they're back on track. Sean Payton's got them playing good again, which I didn't see it coming, man. I thought they were going to completely fold after that really bad Dolphins loss, but it was just way too early in the season. I gave up on Sean Payton and Russell Wilson, and that whole Vance Joseph in general got the defense playing better now. So shame on me for that, but Broncos looking to try to make some noise if they can slide into the AFC playoff picture once again. Next one, Chiefs versus Raiders. This game got off to a crazy start. Raiders jump out to a 14-0 lead, but then Patrick Mahomes said, nah, I don't think this is the way this game's going to go. We're going to go ahead and get this W after dropping a game to the Eagles at home in Arrowhead. We're going to go into Las Vegas, into the Death Star there, and we're going to go ahead and win this game. And he put together a pretty solid outing. Isaiah Pacheco ran the ball really well, had 2 touchdowns in this game. Rashee Rice actually made some really big plays in this game. I really think they need to get him more involved in the offense. He seems like their best playmaker right now in the wide receiver room. Considering, I'm not a huge fan of Sky Moore. He's not a great player in my eyes. MVS, unreliable. Obviously, you look at what happened in the Eagles game where he dropped the game-winning touchdown, essentially. Just a lot of unreliable weapons for Patrick Mahomes in that offense. He's now relying more on Justin Watson, who even had some drop issues in the Eagles game as well. And so I think Rashee Rice needs to be more involved. He's just doing a whole lot of drag routes and things of nature, screen passes, a lot of stuff near the line of scrimmage. I think they need to work him down the field a little bit more and see what he's got in that department, because I think he can be their best wide receiving option going forward. They know how to get the ball to Travis Kelce, still obvious. They know how to get the ball into the hands of their playmakers and like Jerick McKinnon and Isaiah Pacheco even in the passing game. But I think in order to take their offense to the next level, they have to start getting Rashee Rice more involved. But they get a big win. They are in the lead in the AFC West there, and so I think they're probably not going to relinquish that anytime soon. They have a pretty sizable lead there. Next one, Eagles versus Bills. Obviously, crazy, absolute instant classic, man. Watching this game, I thought in the first half that the Eagles were cooked. The situations where, in the first half, it's essentially back-to-back possessions where the Eagles fumble the running back quarterback exchange between Jalen Hurts and Kenny Gainwell. Then they go into the half, they get the ball back and have a 3-and-out. I was like, man, it's 17-7. We've already lost a possession in the third quarter. The Bills are going to go right down the field and win the game. So they're going to put us away. They're going to put the nail in the coffin here. They go down. The Eagles stop them, kick a field goal and miss it, which gave the Eagles offense a glimmer of hope. And then from then on, I don't know what in the world, who suggested what on the offense to change things up. But as soon as they started to run a little bit more outside with DeAndre Swift, get him running down the line of scrimmage rather than going straight north and south, as soon as he got on the edge, man, he was making plays. He started, just ripping off big runs in the run game, which then opened up the passing game a little bit and gave Jalen Hurts some windows to throw into, and he started making plays, man. Jalen Hurts turned it on in the second half, and he drugged the Eagles back into this game. Obviously, there was a big pick by James Bradberry, the first real mistake Josh Allen made all game, which, let me get to this too. Josh Allen, there's no way anybody other than like Josh Allen and maybe Patrick Mahomes keep the Bills in that game other than those two quarterbacks. What I'm trying to say is Josh Allen basically played it in an almost perfect football game, and if it wasn't him or Patrick Mahomes at the helm at QB for that team on Sunday for the Bills, the Eagles probably run away with the game. The amount of times Josh Allen ran the ball with his legs, extended plays, made plays with his legs, got first downs on big third and longs with his legs, ran touchdowns, 2 of them, I might add. He single-handedly kept them in that game and kept them ahead in that game all game until the very end there. And he made a couple, mistakes. And the one mistake to James Bradberry, who intercepted the ball. And then it looked like the Eagles were going to stall once again. It was 3rd and 15, but Jalen Hurts rolls out to his left and throws an absolute dime to the back of the end zone to Olamide Zaccheaus. And dude, I mean, what a ridiculous play. The play of the game. Got them back in this game here, and then they were able to tie it up. They were able to drive down and kick a game-tying 59-yard field goal in absolutely raining cats and dogs type football game. The fact that Jake Elliott even had like the ability to get the ball to go that far in that type of weather, in that condition, is ridiculous. And then he nailed it. I mean, it was tailing off to the right. But man, he snuck it in there, and just what a big time play, what a big time player in general to have in your bag whenever you think you have a chance to score 3 points in a football game. Just having a guy you have that much confidence in to tie a football game, win a football game for you is going to be huge going down the stretch in the playoffs. Obviously, we've always had the confidence in Jake Elliott, but that was just the cherry on top of all of it. And so the Eagles tie it up there, and then in overtime, the Bills drive down, had a chance to win the game with a Gabe Davis touchdown pass. Josh Allen throws it to a spot where he thinks Gabe Davis is going to be. Gabe Davis kind of breaks outside rather than inside, and he throws to a spot, and the spot is not where Gabe Davis was. He had Darius Slay beat on it. It was a cover 0 pressure. They got everybody going towards Josh Allen, made him make a decision and just throw the ball up, which is exactly what you're supposed to do in that situation for a cover 0 blitz. And they made Josh Allen make the wrong decision, essentially. So he threw it there, and that's all it took. I mean, the Eagles held them to a field goal there, and then Jalen Hurts made so many plays, just marched the Eagles right down the field. DeAndre Swift made another huge run, ripped it off to about the 10-yard line-ish, 10 to 15-yard line. And then that's when we got cover zero blitz for the Eagles, and Jalen Hurts identified it right off the bat and just ran a QB draw right into the end zone for the win. Just a walk-off win. I've never seen anything like it, honestly. Like, as an Eagles fan, I don't think I've ever experienced like a walk-off type win like that, especially in the first half when it looked like things were so bleak. And they just like didn't want to be there. It was cold, rainy. It was disgusting out there in Philadelphia. And it looked like they just it looked like they were just folding it so they could just get to the 49ers game and win that game, because they knew that, like, they didn't really have to have this game. It's an AFC opponent, so in the grand scheme of things, it's not like the most important game to win between the next two when you got the 49ers coming up and then the Cowboys in Dallas. But they just, man, the Eagles are so good. They just find a way to win no matter what. Everything is going against them in the first half, and they find a way to win. I'm going long on this game, but it was just one of the best games of the season. A fireworks show in a nasty, rainy, cold game in Philadelphia. You just would have never expected it. It looked terrible in the first half, and then the second half was just absolute fireworks. It was awesome. But yeah, Eagles get a huge win. They move on to 10-1. They are still the number one seed in the NFC, but they got two more games here in a row that are going to say a lot about their chances of staying in that number one seed with the 49ers and Cowboys coming up in the next 2 weeks. So big games for the Eagles coming up. Next game, Ravens versus Chargers. Ravens get the job done once again. They go to LA, and it wasn't super pretty. Zay Flowers had a great game in this one. He had 2 touchdowns, which I'm excited for him to kind of get going. It seemed like at the beginning of the season, week 1, when they were without Mark Andrews, Zay Flowers seemed like the guy that got a little bit more of the touches because of the absence of Mark Andrews. And so in this game, it looked like that was the case once again. So if you have him in fantasy, you're never rooting for a guy like Mark Andrews to go down for one of your fantasy teams. But on the flip side, a guy like Zay Flowers is getting more touches now, and he's more effective in the offense now because of the absence of a guy like that who takes a lot of targets away. But Zay Flowers had a good game. The confidence in him is going up. Odell Beckham Jr. still made some plays. Rashad Bateman still made some plays in this one. And man, the Ravens just keep getting the job done once again. They have the number one seed in the AFC, which is very impressive for them, and I don't see that really slowing down. I think they can continue to win going forward. But yeah, Chargers, man, they're just – Brandon Staley's out of there. Let's just be honest. They're just not a very good team right now. It's not Justin Herbert's fault. I know a lot of people want to blame him. Defense is god-awful. He hasn't had consistent weapons his entire career. Keenan Allen's the only viable weapon in the wide receiver room for him right this second. Austin Eckler looks like he is on the decline right now. He is running like a fullback out there, which he just used to be one of the fastest guys in the NFL at the position, and now it's just looking a little bit rough. So crazy times for the Chargers. A lot of rumors about potentially Bill Belichick going in there and taking that job, and that would be very interesting going forward, but we'll just leave that for some off-season coverage. Next game, Bears versus Vikings. Not going to say a lot here. Nobody wanted to watch this ugly game anyways, other than the fan bases of each team. Vikings lose in this one, which is very upsetting for, their fan base, considering they are right there. I mean, the Vikings are still the 7th seed in the NFC, but they really needed that win to just move their position up in the NFC playoff standings. But yeah, the Pastronaut, Josh Dobbs, kind of he crashed back down to earth in this one. Sorry, I stole that whole saying, that pun or whatever from somebody on Twitter. But either way, Josh Dobbs just didn't look good in this game. Threw like 4 interceptions. Just pretty much just came back down to earth after a ungodly amount of like almost luck and just really good play by him. Running ability was there earlier on, and now things are it's crazy. Somebody also tweeted about this game that like the more Josh Dobbs starts to learn his wide receivers, the less or like the worse he starts to play, which is just crazy. But like it's a funny little coincidence. But Vikings get a bad loss here. Bears really shouldn't even won this game because they want their draft position to be better rather than worse. And so this is just a weird game in general. Justin Fields didn't look good in this game, so like there's not a whole lot positive to take away from the Bears' perspective here. So just a weird game in general. Just 1 touchdown total in this game for the Vikings, and then just a lot of field goals by Cairo Santos, who basically single-handedly won the game for the Bears. Just a really ugly game on Monday Night Football. All right, let's go right into this Thursday Night Football preview. We have the Seahawks visiting the Cowboys Thursday Night Football, and the Cowboys are favored by 9.5. This is a huge line, and I know I just got done saying the Seahawks looked pretty rough against the 49ers. Obviously, the Cowboys are not as good as the 49ers, in my opinion. They've been playing good football as of late, but they have been beating up on a lot of very bad competition. So we'll see. I think the Seahawks are probably going to be the best competition they've had since they played the Eagles earlier on in the season, the Cowboys, I should say. And so, man, this line at 9.5, man, like, I really should say, because the Seahawks will look so bad and the Cowboys will look so good as of late, that the Cowboys, like with this line, the way the lines have been set as of late, Cowboys have been destroying the lines. And so I really should go with the Cowboys here, but there's something in my gut telling me that the Seahawks are a little bit too good of a football team, and their backs are a little bit too much against the wall when it comes to NFC playoff standings and things of that nature, that are going to allow them to just lay down in this one and get smoked by them. So I'm going to take the Seahawks in the points here. I think that Zach Charbonnet is going to be able to run the ball a little bit against this Cowboys defense. I don't think they're going to jump out to a huge lead, which is what usually causes, the Cowboys to completely demolish teams at the end of the day. I think they're going to keep balance on offense, the Seahawks. And I think they're going to be able to make enough plays to at least cover here. I feel like the Cowboys probably win this game. It's at home. They play incredibly well at home. And so I think the Cowboys probably win here, but I like the Seahawks to cover. That's pretty much all it is for this episode of Coordinated Chaos. I appreciate everybody listening. Once again, please follow on all the socials. Follow on Instagram, or not Instagram, sorry. I kind of stopped doing the Instagram thing. I kind of wanted to focus more on YouTube and on TikTok and things of that nature, Twitter as well. So follow on those ones, and subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and I will talk to you guys next week. Peace.